and children couldn't access speech and language therapy.
So we weren't able to see any children and provide them with the relevant and necessary support. This really concerned us because we know that for most of our children, having therapy and intervention at an early stage of their development is really important. Another difficulty that we faced was access to a limited range of virtual platforms in which we could reach our families, as well as us having very limited experience of delivering therapy in this way. As a team, we felt it was a very difficult concept to try and support something as complex as communication via an online platform, and equally we were all on really high alert for redeployment, and therefore planning and moving forwards and creating virtual offers was something that we really struggled with, and we didn't know whether it was something that if we started, would we be able to finish it. Everything was just really uncertain.
So, after a lot of discussions as a team and as a service, we decided to take a leap of faith and develop our very own virtual offer so that children could access online speech and language support. We made short videos aiming at a range of different targets. This was something really different and something that we had never done before as a team, and as a result we had to learn on the job and learn very quickly. We were lucky enough to have access to iPads in which we could use for the filming. Once we had started filming, we then accessed support from the NELFT comms team, who were able to support us with our editing needs. Unfortunately, due to short time frames and the need to get the service up and running as soon as possible, we then identified some members of our team to get in-house training so that they could then start developing the rest of our videos in-house.
We now have 4 full speech and language therapy online groups on the NELFT YouTube channel, which have been rolled out to a number of families. We are also continuing to edit a number of other advice and modelling videos, which will hopefully be up online very soon. Everything is still very much in its infancy. However, from the feedback that we have had from families, it seems that parents are really enjoying the videos and it's working well and offering families something in this time of uncertainty.
The most important thing for us as a service was being able to support our families during this very difficult time and try and reduce the amount in which our children missed out on. We feel we have in some way started to achieve this with our virtual offer, and we hope that it continues to augment our therapy for the future. Here is an example of our work.
Hello and welcome to week 1 of the Early Language Group. My name is Charlotte and I am a speech and language therapist. We will be bringing you a new video each week for the next 5 weeks. We will focus on a different area each week in order to give you lots of different activity ideas to support the development of your child's communication. The areas we will be covering throughout the next 5 weeks are special time and developing language through play, understanding at 1 keyword level, naming objects using single words, and developing simple turn-taking skills. Communication is a complex skill with lots of different processes involved. We often refer to the communication pyramid to explain these different processes. You should find a copy of this pyramid in the resources that we have provided. Attention and listening is one of the skills at the bottom of the pyramid. Your child needs to focus on you, the speaker. Listening is a skill that young children have to learn, and there are different levels of listening and attention which children move through as they develop. Play and interaction skills are another of the foundation skills towards the bottom of the pyramid. Play is an integral part of your child's life. Play is how children learn, including learning their social skills. Children need to learn how to interact with others, problem solve and work together, and this all happens during play. Next, we move on to understanding of language. When children first begin to understand and follow simple instructions, they use all the cues around them, for example, pointing and gestures, to work out what it is that they need to do. Only when the child is able to follow instructions without these cues can we say that verbal understanding has truly developed. Children need to hear words many times so that they fully understand them before they begin to use them in their expressive language themselves. Everyday objects and favourite toys that children will be most familiar with and therefore will be the ones that they are most motivated to use. Speaking clearly is the icing on the top of the cake. We always look at a child's understanding and use of language and work on developing these first before we think about how the child is saying the words. Working on speech sounds is right at the top of the pyramid and is one of the last things that we work on. This week, the target that we will be focusing on is creating a language-rich environment. In order to do this, we will be introducing you to something called special time. This is a period of 5 minutes where you will engage in play with your child on a one-to-one basis, giving them your undivided attention. Before you start, let your child choose the activity. This should not be reading a book, playing on a computer, a phone or a tablet, watching TV or playing lively outdoor games. Some activity ideas that you could use for special time include having a tea party with some characters, or playing with farm animals or dinosaurs, or even playing with vehicles in a toy garage. When your child has decided what they want to do, go somewhere where you won't be disturbed. Play with your child for the full 5 minutes, giving them your undivided attention and focusing on what they are doing and saying rather than how they are saying it. If you have other children, it may be a good idea to give them their own regular special time on an individual basis as well. We will be concentrating on special time for the first 2 weeks of the group, but we want you to carry on doing this throughout all of the sessions and in the future as well. Today, we will introduce 2 strategies for you to focus on and practice during special time this week. 2 different activities for the purposes of special time. I have got a tea party set and I've got a toy garage. You may find that you have some similar activities that you can set up at home for the purposes of special time with your child. So, if your child moves to one particular activity, it is your job to follow them to that activity. Try not to direct them away because then you're not following your child's lead. And that is the first strategy that we will be focusing on during this session. This means that when your child starts an interaction with you, let them know that you've received their message and respond to what they are interested in and not what you're interested in. The best interactions usually happen when you follow your child's lead, since they're more likely to communicate about the things that they're interested in. Get down to your child's level and let your child choose the toy. This allows your child to choose something that they are more likely to be interested in playing with, and it will keep their attention for longer. Follow what your child wants to do with the toy, watch and observe what your child does, and then copy exactly what your child is doing. Try not to control what happens. Sit where your child can easily see you. It will be much easier to communicate and gain eye contact if you are opposite your child and at the same eye level. This may mean that you need to move around to position yourself. Wait for your child to start talking. This doesn't just mean words and sentences. It might mean that you wait for your child to initiate sounds, gestures, or just by looking at you. Always try to respond to your child's communication. This could be by repeating back what they say, or by praising them and even copying their actions. So the do's and don'ts of this week's session are: number 1, do get down to your child's level and sit where they can easily see you. Number 2, let your child choose the toy. Number 3, copy exactly what your child wants to do with the toys. Number 4, wait for your child to initiate some communication with you. Now for the don'ts. Number 1, don't direct your child's play. If your child wants to put a brick in a cup and stir it, that's okay. You can still copy their actions. Number 2, don't try and fill every silence. It's okay to have long periods of silence during play. This gives your child plenty of opportunities to initiate communication. So the second strategy is balancing questions with comments. It is a natural instinct for lots of parents to ask questions when you so desperately want your child to speak. I'm sure you can think of lots of times when you've asked your child question after question. For example, "What's that? What's this? Is that a ball? You like playing with the ball, don't you?" Quite often, these questions require a very limited response from your child and can really put your child under pressure, leading to the child actually saying less rather than more. Try hard to avoid asking questions, particularly "What's that?" Instead, we will introduce you to the 4-finger rule to support you to reduce the number of questions that you ask. Try using the 4 comments to every one question that you ask. For example, if your child is playing with the car, your 4 comments could be, "It's a car. Boom, boom. Car's going fast. Beep, beep. Crash." And then you might want to ask one question such as, "Where is the car going?" You may get a response from this type of question because it shows your interest in your child's play. When you do ask a question, make sure it's a question that your child is able to and willing to answer. Wait for your child to process what you've asked them and give them plenty of time for them to respond. If they don't answer, that's okay. You can model how the question might be answered. For example, "Oh, the car's going to the seaside." When you are making comments on your child's play, closely observe what your child is doing and use very simple language. So only use 1 to 2 words together at a time. For example, if your child is playing with some animals, you might say, "Dog. Ooh, dog running. Dog is eating." Commenting is a good way to build on your child's understanding. The more a child hears the words to go with their actions, the more likely they are to understand them. So the do's and don'ts for strategy number 2 are: number 1, remember the 4-finger rule and make lots of comments on what your child is playing with. Number 2, keep your language simple when making your comments. Number 3, ask questions that the child can and want to answer. Number 4, give your child plenty of time to respond to your questions. Now for the don'ts. Don't ask too many questions. Don't ask questions that are too hard, and don't ask questions that don't match your child's interests. Thanks for joining us for week 1 of the Early Language Group. I hope you have found the strategies and play ideas really useful. Remember to spend 5 minutes every day playing with your child and try out those strategies. Please refer to the resources provided, and we'll see you next week. Bye.